I am stoked. One of my favorite franchises is coming back August 20th. I was hoping to do a review of all the games in the series, but I only have a handful of them. So, I figure I'll review the first game. I think most of the references will be found in this one anyway. First thing to mention about the first game is that there are several versions. The three most notable are the Famicom, the Sega Mega Drive, or Genesis, and the Game Boy release. As for the Game Boy version, it's labeled as Battletoads in Ragnarok's World, since there'd be a sequel on the Game Boy just called Battletoads. There were also two obscure releases, one on a Tiger handheld system, which I thought they were done with it by this time, and another for the Amiga. From what I have heard, as well as seen, the Amiga version is just broken. Plus, look at what they did with the Dark Queen here. Looks like they dragged her right out of bed at 3 in the morning. As for the NES release, here is the story. There are 3 Battletoads, Rash, Zitz, and Pimple, each with their own personalities. Rash is the cool one, Zitz is the smart one, but still beats down just as much as the others. Pimple may not be the smartest, but he is the strongest. All 3 of them are led by Professor T. Bird, who is very hard on the player when they fail. One day, Pimple was out cruising with Princess Angelica when they are captured by the Dark Queen. She says if they want them back, they are going to have to go to her home world and fight for them. Along the way, you will have to deal with 3 henchmen and several cronies. The 3 henchmen are Big Blag, Robo Mantis, and General Slaughter. I love that name. From there, Player 1 takes control of Rash, and Player 2 control of Zitz. While the game can be played 2 players, it's more difficult. The players can not only harm each other, but level 11 is impossible unless one is dead. Also, there is an odd continue system. If one player loses all their lives, both players get the game over screen. This wouldn't be so bad if both players' lives went back to the stock 3. Instead, the other player is stuck with what they had before the game over screen. Now on to the levels. While the game is known for its difficulty, levels 1 and 2 aren't really that bad, especially compared to Ghosts and Goblins level 1 and 2. That just goes on forever. Level 1 is a straightforward beat-em-up with elements of platforming. Several elements are revealed to the player, such as attack styles, refilling your health, and the ability to pick up your only weapon, a stick. However, if you do it right, you can also ride a dragon. I wish this dragon would appear anywhere else, but at least it appears at all. The first boss is fun. You see it through the perspective of the Psycho Pig controlling it, and have to throw rocks at it. What's most interesting about this level is if you can kill the first 2 enemies quickly enough, you can reach the Super Warp, sending you straight to level 3. If you do this though, you'll miss out on a lot. Level 2 still holds the beat-em-up theme, but from a top-down perspective. The stick is still available, as well as a new attack, the Wrecking Ball, cue Miley Cyrus. This attack is overpowered, and it will kill any enemy in 1 hit, also including the second player. After that is when the game starts to get hard. Level 3, the Turbo Tunnel. At first, it seems like your standard affair. Beat up a few bad guys, refill some health, then you come to the speeder bikes. Here, you will die in 1 hit, or if you fall into a pit. There are a few pluses though. The pattern is always the same, and if you're daring enough, you can jump over the walls. It takes a lot of practice and memorization, but if you beat this level, that is further than most gamers have ever gone. Like level 1, there is also a warp here that will take you to level 5. Level 4 is an ice level. For the most part it's a platformer, but you do have to beat up a few snowmen. Every so often there's a pile of snowballs for the player to throw, which is probably my favorite element of this level. There is also a checkpoint next to a 1-up, so that's also pretty nice. And, if you're really crafty enough on one of the elevators, there is another super warp, which will take you to level 6. Level 5 is where you encounter the first boss, as well as a new vehicle, the surfboards. Here's a hint a lot of people don't know. The whirlpools towards the end are arranged in a pattern, alternating up and down. After a few enemies, you meet up with Big Blag. There are two ways to beat him: the cheap way and the man's way. The cheap way is to take a stick and continually beat him in a corner till he dies. The man's way is to leave the stick and to beat him up that way. Be sure to watch out for his finisher, though. He can jump on top of you and end you in one hit. After that is one of the few times there is no pattern in this game. There are mines which pop up at random in the water. The best strategy I've found is to stay at the bottom as far back as possible. Then, go up if one is in your line of sight. Whenever I play this game, how well I do in that section, as well as level 11, dictates if I use a continue or not. That's another point right there. The game only has 3 continues. After that, it's game over. If you do continue, Professor T-Bird will have some harsh words for you. On the game over screen, the Dark Queen will have some harsh words. I remember one that says,
"I wonder what robust frogs' legs taste like. They taste good."
That has to be the most insulting game over screen. Not only do you die, but you are eaten by your true enemy. Level 6 is the Snake Pit. It's all just some inventive platforming for this one. Just like the speeder bikes, it's all memorization, since the pattern is always the same. Even if you fall off, the pattern will start over, though some sections don't have a floor. If you time it right, you will find the last super warp in the game. This will take you to level 8. Level 7 is like a much more intense level 3. The beat-em-up section is longer, the platforming is harder, and the vehicle section also has no pattern for some parts. What's interesting to note is this level was meant to have motorcycles, but was changed to planes. That's probably for the best. This would have been too similar to level 3. Level 8 can be best described as a reverse level 2. Instead of going down, you are going up. The major difference is this level is a lot harder, with multiple traps, exhaust fans, electricity, poisonous gas, and several enemies. This level would be easiest for a drummer. The pattern requires good timing. This is where the sound design shines through. When a trap is about to activate, you can hear it. If you stand still long enough, you can count how long it is between triggers. Much like the rest of the game, the timing is the same. You just need memorization. When you get towards the end, there is a stretch of electric girders to go through. If you get the screen to go high enough, you can have the Toad jump right to the second boss, Robo Mantis. Unlike Blag, there is no cheap way to beat him, as your stick disappears. The best tactic is to hit him with the ram horns as much as possible, and don't let him touch the ground. Each time he touches the ground, he will fire 4 shots, enough to kill you if you aren't ducked. Also like Blag, he can smash you. Level 9 is another platforming beat-em-up level. This time, though, you can swim through parts. This or level 7 are probably my favorite levels of the game. Here you will find how precise the hitboxes are, as you can practically kiss the spikes in this level and still live. For most games, this would be close enough to be considered death. Much like level 4, there is a 1-up next to a checkpoint. Level 10 goes down this time. Your mission is to race the Spaz, yeah, that's actually what they call the guy, to the bottom and destroy the bomb. Ordinarily, there are 4 sections, with the 4th being the boss fight against General Slaughter. Man, I love that name. However, if you defuse the bomb quickly enough, and then beat Spaz just right, you can be rewarded with the end of the level. I've only been able to do this a handful of times, and completely by accident. Level 11 is the hardest level in the whole game. When you drive the Klingerwinger, you have to hold the direction you want the bike to go in. If you let go for more than a second, the Indiana Jones Mint will kill you. On a personal level, this is a level I can either beat the first time or the 10th time. There is no happy medium. If you manage to get to the end, you then fight the Mint. After that, it's on to the final level, the Dark Queen's Tower. This requires going up. You'll see a lot of new enemies in this level, one of which can blow you off the tower if you don't get to the flagpole in time. What I find the most unique about this level is how the tower spins. It's a clever way of creating 3D space in a 2D format. While I said level 11 is the hardest, this does not mean you will beat this level on the first try. This level will require memorization, good timing, as well as estimation. When you make it to the top, you take on the Dark Queen herself. This is technically level 13, so if you die to the Dark Queen, you will start here if you have to continue. After wailing on her enough, you'll beat the game. While it plays out mostly in text, this is an ending most gamers haven't earned. So, that is Battletoads. To beat this game will require patience, memorization, a good sense of timing, and the ability to vent anger. So probably the biggest thing I suggest is don't play this game for more than an hour. I want to kill the first thing you see. While the difficulty may scare off a lot of gamers, those that want a challenge will find this one rather forgiving. I can think of several ways to make this game insanely harder. Say, one-hit deaths throughout the whole game, no continues, no checkpoints, no extra lives, and remove all patterns. Don't get me wrong, it's a difficult game, but impossible is what I just described. One complaint I do have is the score doesn't roll. Every 1 million points, you get a 1-up. But once the counter reaches all 9s, it will stay that way until you use a continue. And it'll reset to all 0s. For the gameplay, I love it. Usually with a beat 'em up, it gets old real quick as you keep walking in one direction, using the same attacks over and over, and just waiting for all the enemies to finally die. Here, there is so much variety. Beat 'em up levels, driving levels, platforming levels, plus all these levels are distinct from one another. While the music from level 5 also repeats in level 9, there is no recycled assets except for enemies, of course. The controls are very good. The only complaint I have is to run, you have to tap the direction button twice. Sometimes the second tap doesn't register. I wonder if the Mega Drive/Genesis version used the third button for running. It would make the game a lot easier that way. Other than that, it's also the controller. If you use a worn out one like I do most of the time, jumps don't seem to register every time, and the Klinger Winger becomes really difficult. Probably the thing that impresses me the most about this game is the graphics. Each character looks like it could be part of a Saturday morning cartoon, which at one point, they actually were. However, there was only one episode. In fact, if you look closely, the toads will blink every so often. Now that is attention to detail. On top of that, there is a lot of animation to these characters. There are several unique death animations, attack animations, and even walk animations. And on top of that, it's very smooth animation. From what I've seen of this new game, I am looking forward to it. I love its animation style, and it's just surreal to see these characters have voices. Sure, they had personalities in the older games, but this is much deeper than you would have seen. In fact, I'd be happy to see a cartoon series with this style and characters. My one main complaint is the Dark Queen. Let's just say the Battletoads stand at maybe 6 feet tall, with Pimple being about 7 feet. That'd make the Dark Queen maybe 25 feet tall. However, in this commercial, she is dwarfed by Pimple. On top of that, they made her a nerd. Was the idea of a strong, independent woman too much to ask? I get the idea that her look was a little too revealing, but for a main villain, they just turned her into an absolute wimp. Although in looking closely, it seems like you can play as her. Maybe the main villain will be Silas Valkmore, like in Battletoads and Battle Maniacs. All the same, if this game isn't much over $20, I'll be glad to pay for it. I'll go as high as 30, but that's my limit. Here's hoping that Rare is able to do the Toads justice once again. Until next time, keep having fun.